Hey guys, what's going on? This is Jordan Miller. I'm the founder of BreatheHeavy, and today I'm bringing you a very special and kind of impromptu video. I'm reading excerpts of a new Vanity Fair story that was published just now that I have not yet seen, and I'm featured in it. So I figured it'd be really interesting for me to read excerpts from this article that I'm featured in and record my reaction and then share that with you guys. It's not every day you get to be featured in Vanity Fair, so this is a huge honor and I'm looking forward to sharing this with you. Fingers crossed that I like what they had to say. I have not read it yet, but my instinct is that they did an awesome job because they do their due diligence, and I've been in communication with them the last couple weeks to kind of fact check and make sure that everything that they're including is accurate, but I don't actually know what they've included, so I'm curious to see what they took from that interview and included in their story. I'm really looking forward to reading this and sharing this experience with you guys. But first, play that intro. It's such an honor to me that BreatheHeavy and Exhale is being recognized on a larger scale, especially a platform like Vanity Fair. So if you aren't familiar with BreatheHeavy, it's a pop music news community and the forum's name is Exhale. And I encourage you after this video to head over to breatheheavy.com, create a membership. It's free, it takes less than a minute, and you're gonna be joining a community of like-minded people who just have a love of pop music, pop culture, and of course, Britney Spears. And with that said, let's jump into the article. And by the way, just to double down, I'm not gonna read the entire article because I feel like that's not fun to watch, but I am gonna read the excerpts that I'm/BreatheHeavy is featured in. Be sure to read the entire Vanity Fair article after this interview. I'll link it in the description below. So the first excerpt's a little lengthy, and it goes, to understand the hashtag of Free Britney, we have to go back to 2009. Jordan Miller sat down at his computer fuming. For the past week, he'd been updating his Britney Spears fan site, BreatheHeavy.com, on the pop icon's conservatorship. The news was making him irate. A story that Spears' cell phone had been taken away from her sent him over the edge. He tapped out his fury and hit upload on a post that would inadvertently give name to a movement. The headline, Prisoner Forbidden Phone Privileges. I'll actually show you an example of what this article looks like. Obviously, BreatheHeavy looks different now than it did in 2009, but this is the actual article that they're referring to. And I remember at the time being outraged that one of the most iconic and famous people on the planet wasn't allowed to have a cell phone, according to that report that I was also reporting on. So now this next part, I'm speaking to the interviewer on the phone, and I said, "That is so rude," Miller tells me now, laughing. "Keep in mind, I was a teenager." And then they go on to say, he was 20 and had been managing BreatheHeavy.com since he launched the site at the ripe old age of 15, which is true. I launched the site in 2004 when I just finished my sophomore year of high school. The story goes on to say, I would never write it that way now. I must have been just outraged, like, this is an injustice. How can you take away Britney Spears' cell phone? Miller ended the post with an imperative that would have consequences. Open your eyes, free Britney. Though it wasn't the first time he'd used this phrase and wouldn't be the last, Miller remembers feeling the true gravity of Spears' situation as he wrote the post. It goes on, the term kicked around the internet mostly among fan sites, but only Spears' super stans seemed to pay any attention. Then, in April 2019, Miller got a call from Tess Barker and Barbara Gray of Britney's Gram, the podcast. They gave him a heads up that they were planning to title a forthcoming episode Free Britney, and it was going to be a bombshell. I mentioned that to the interviewer in Vanity Fair because I highly respect Tess and Barbara, A, for having this voicemail and leaking it, knowing that there could be consequences. I'm sure that the thought process of that was really scary for them. And I greatly respected that they called me and gave me a heads up about it. I don't want to take ownership of it. This is not about me. This is about Britney Spears. And I still stand by that. And I do think a lot of people lately have been saying, like, I'm trying to profit from the Free Britney movement or anything like that. I just want to make it clear that I personally don't want that perception of me, and I greatly appreciated them reaching out to me because this is a team effort. You know, this is not just about me and Britney's Gram, but all fans. So shout out to them. They're awesome. Love you guys. Surprise! What's up, guys? I realized as I was editing this video that I left out two really important parts, so I decided to add a last-minute follow-up. And that's because this was a reaction video, so there wasn't a lot of preparation. Actually, there was zero preparation because I wanted to capture myself in the moment reading this article as soon as it had come out. So obviously with other videos that I have, there's not any mistakes or very few mistakes because I have time to plan out a script and just get everything in order. But because this is a reaction video and this is so spur of the moment and literally in the moment, it was a little bit sloppy when I was filming it, so I had a couple thoughts that I wanted to share with you after the fact. One of the things I want to talk about before we dive back into the original video is my thoughts on the comparison of the Free Britney movement to... Now, I don't really want to get into what it's a quick Google search away, so I'll just leave that up to you after this video. Essentially, it's not a good comparison. And I feel like it's important for me to go on the record and say, while I am very grateful and super appreciative that Vanity Fair included me in this article, I don't agree with the comparisons of the Free Britney movement to... What had happened was my best friend sent me a link to this article. I didn't even realize it had come out, and I quickly grabbed my camera and started filming me reading the parts that I was included in. I literally did Command F and typed Miller, and anytime the word Miller showed up in the article, I read that. In hindsight, I should have read the entire article before filming a reaction video, but I jumped the gun, and I was just so excited to see what Vanity Fair included from our conversation. So I just didn't plan that out very well, and so for that, I apologize. They actually go on in some semi-great detail about in this comparison to Free Britney. The reason why I don't agree with this reference or similarity to Free Britney is because the Free Britney movement has genuinely created forward momentum for Britney, and in my opinion, the reference delegitimizes how impactful and influential this Free Britney movement has been. I'm still honored that I'm included in this article, and I'm proud of the quotes that I gave. Another reason why I'm not super thrilled with this reference is because there's gonna be plenty of people out there who don't know what Free Britney is. Now the only frame of reference they're gonna have is and so I think it hurts the movement in that sense. Hopefully Vanity Fair's audience will be able to use logic and maybe do a little bit of their own research as to what Free Britney is before just deciding to assume that Vanity Fair made a real valid point. And it's not to say that this reference is completely out of left field. There's a huge conspiratorial side to the Free Britney movement, and that's something that I've shied away from for the most part because I feel like I don't want to throw gasoline on the fire. But there are some people out there who have in the past made really sensational videos to social media and TikTok, essentially creating weird rumors and conspiracy theories. For instance, in one of Britney's pictures, they claim you can see the number 911, or one time Britney did a series of yoga poses that she posted and they claimed that she was spelling out the word help, things like that. Those are things that I've never given attention to, I've never believed, I think it's silly. And so I just personally never really comment on it because I don't want to waste my energy on something I don't believe in. And I think a lot of times people who run with these sort of claims, I think their heart's in the right place, but I also think they're being sensational just for personal gain. And I do understand the irony here is that my website, my business, a big part of that is right now is focused on this Free Britney movement. So I do understand that I'm a little bit of the pot calling the kettle black, but I would like to think that my efforts are helping keep this momentum going in a positive direction versus just speaking about conspiracy theories. Hope that cleared things up, and let's dive back into the video. Okay, so the next excerpt is Spears' camp has remained silent on the issue and no legal action was taken against Britney's gram, which Miller thinks is telling, and thousands of Britney fans had taken note. Hashtag Free Britney began trending on Twitter. A movement was born. So I love that they distinguish between Free Britney, the phrase, and the Free Britney movement. The Free Britney phrase, in my opinion, I do think originated on BreatheHeavy, but the movement really kicked off once the voicemail dropped. I can see where people are like, oh, he's taking ownership of it, but the phrase was being used on BreatheHeavy in January 2009, so there's no denying that, but I just, again, I don't want to be like, I made it, and da-da-da-da-da. And I do want to comment that I still think that's interesting that they dropped this bombshell of information and there was no legal consequence, because if it was not true, I'm sure they would have heard about that. That's all speculative, but that's just my 2 cents. According to TMZ, the hearing was infiltrated by unknown members of the public or Zoom bombed, forcing the judge to end the session. Then I say, I was one of the people given information about it, but we don't really know what happened, Miller told me. In terms of if they were hashtag Free Britney activists, that sounds like a great story, but I don't know anything about it. You have to think though, he added, how were fans able to hack into the court system, and why wouldn't the judge just kick them off and tell them to send a new link or whatever? Why would she have to wait another month to have the hearing? So what I mean by that was, I personally found it confusing that at that point, Britney's hearing was delayed a month. What had happened was Britney had a court hearing, she was supposed to appear digitally via Zoom or however, whatever mechanism it was supposed to be. but there was some sort of disturbance, and it was claimed that there were people trying to basically appear via Zoom. Somehow they were able to get in, and the judge was trying to kick them off, and there was like this back and forth, and eventually the judge just decided to delay the whole thing. And I found that interesting because if I were the judge, I would say, okay, let's figure this out now. Get Britney Spears on the line. I'll wait. This is the most important case, clearly, of the day, if not of her career right now. So I found that whole delay of a month really strange. But the court system works how it works, and I don't really know what to say about that. Sometimes I do think the court system, you know, has some room to improve. But anyway, that's kind of what I meant by that. Oh, and another thing to add, yes, I was given a heads up, and I can't say who my source was, but just know that the source that contacted me about this and gave me the information about how that hearing went about and what I reported on BreatheHeavy at that time is a legitimate source. I wouldn't reveal that information had I not trusted that source. And I know that's not a very satisfying answer because you want me to spill the tea, but it's important as a journalist to make sure that my sources are protected. Okay, moving on, the next excerpt. You guys are gonna like this one, and here goes. Considering the overlap between Spears' fan base and the LGBTQ community, Taylor's affiliation with Calvary Chapel seems contradictory. On BreatheHeavy.com, Taylor has been a frequent target, and then I say, I mean, some of them call her Lucifer, says Miller. While he's not a fan of how out of hand the online vitriol can get, tearing someone else down doesn't help Britney, he explains. He does think Taylor's dealings deserve greater scrutiny. Keep in mind, this interview happened many, many weeks before Lou Taylor resigned, and obviously I had no idea that she was going to resign. In fact, in my mind, I was thinking she'd hang on for dear life forever. And I do stand by my comment. I do think calling her Lucifer and people calling Jamie Spears colon and just basically dehumanizing them, I don't agree with what decisions these people have made, Lou Taylor and Jamie and whatnot. I don't think that tearing them down helps Britney. I don't think it helps the movement move forward. I think it actually just hurts the person kind of spewing that negativity. And Exhale, I know you're watching, and I know you guys like to use the term Lucifer, and at the end of the day, you're free to express yourself, but I just want to kind of hammer home this idea that Exhale is designed to be a place of kindness and positivity first. And if you post negativity, you're purposefully going against the grain of the intention of the website, and that's okay. It's just something I want you to be aware of. I don't think that being negative towards other people ends up making you feel good in the end of the day. I think it actually makes you feel bad, and that's kind of why I always try to hammer home this notion of kindness, because being kind towards people that we don't understand, that we don't agree with, helps us move forward in life. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button, smash the like button, and the notification bell. What that does, that tells YouTube that you guys are engaging with my channel, they show it to more people, I begin to really grow, and I get to create more awesome content for you. And last but not least, quote, I thought it was really interesting in those documents, there was a photo of a protest sign saying, "Jail Jamie, free Britney, investigate Lou," Miller said suggestively. In reference to that, what I was saying is that there was a court document that included a couple pictures, which is actually pretty rare in these court documents. They don't typically include photos, but in this court document, they included a photo of someone having a protest sign that said, "Jail Jamie, free Britney, investigate Lou." And what I found interesting about that is that Sam Ingham, Britney's lawyer, intentionally included that, which would mean the judge would have to see it. It was telling that that was included in court documents. I'm back. So I realized again, there's one more thing that I want to touch on, and that's my overall thoughts on the article. I think for the most part, it's a great story. I think the writer did an amazing job. I know that there was a lot of time and attention put into this, so that's greatly appreciated, and I highly respect her for doing that. As far as my quotes go, I am very proud of how I personally come off in this article, and I just want you to know that anytime I go into doing an interview, I always try to make sure that I'm coming from a place of love and positivity and gratitude. And I know that sounds like very woo-woo, but that's how I try to live my life. I try to intentionally be grateful at all times and live in the moment. And there's plenty of instances where you're doing an interview, even doing YouTube videos, once the camera's rolling and the lights are on, you kind of get into this unique place that's not reality. And so you're trying to navigate the waters of an interview because it's just kind of inherently a high pressure situation to begin with. You're trying to think, do I sound good? What was the question they just asked? How can I answer it in a way that's not triggering or weird or you sound crazy? So there's a lot of thoughts that are going on at once. And so I just try to be as fluid as possible and as authentic as I can be. Next time I do a reaction video, I'm gonna make sure that I take a little bit more of a pause and not just rush into it. But at the same time, I was super excited to read this Vanity Fair article. I definitely have learned a huge valuable lesson, and I appreciate you being on this journey with me. It's just greatly appreciated, and I'm just so excited to see where this all goes. Hopefully this video, if it wasn't educational for you, it was at least entertaining. Thank you so much for watching. It's greatly appreciated. I love you guys so much. And if you haven't already, please smash that like button, and I'll see you in the next video. Outro.